So, folks, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? Doing good? Eating right? Getting plenty of water? Let's turn that good mood right around, shall we? Let's talk about ICE here in Minnesota. So, here is Mayor Frey speaking at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, talking about the situation here in Minneapolis.
It is heartwarming to be here with all of you because, I see your name on amicus briefs. I see your faces on TV. I feel the support from across the entire country, and we recognize that one great American city is experiencing an invasion. That is an invasion on our democracy, on our republic, and on each and every one of us. And the fact that you all are standing up means the world. Thank you. Never in a million years did I think that we would be in this place where troops and federal agents by the thousands have been deployed on a great American city, where the Department of Justice is used as a weapon to silence dissent, where the very foundational principles of our democracy and of our republic are questioned. I didn't take this job to get into the business of defending democracy. I did it because being a mayor has always been my dream job. There's great honor in filling potholes. It is noble to keep people safe and to build affordable housing. That work, which we do every single day, is foundational to the principles of our republic. And all the same, we find ourselves in a different position right now. We are on the front lines of a very important battle. And it's important that we aren't silenced, that we aren't put down. This is not a time to bend our heads in despair or out of fear that we may be next, because if we do not speak up, if we do not step out, it will be your city that is next.
I do have to say, for all of my complaints about Mayor Frey, he is rhetorically spitting here. Like, he's correct. If we don't stop this now, it is only going to get worse. We have 3 years where this can get worse and escalate. And he's right. He's right to condemn it strongly. And I have so many problems with him, and it's so frustrating to me, where I have to be like, this is the guy. This is one of the only guys who's out there. He's one of the only guys out there talking about this right now. And condemning it in the strong way it needs to be condemned. Directly calling it out. As a socialist, I would love more from a politician, but this needs to be the baseline from our politicians.
For those of you that have been watching the news and what's happening in Minneapolis, I'll tell you, it is that bad. People's constitutional rights have been trampled. Thousands of federal agents have descended on a city that has 600 police officers. 600 police officers and somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 federal agents.
Is there anything he can do beyond strong words, or his hands kind of tied? Well, they've already done a few things, like deny ICE the ability to assemble on city-owned property. That's just one example, but I would really like the city to be way more involved with what is happening regarding organizing on the ground, or at the very least, pitching in with its own efforts to close up the gaps in care that the government is currently not doing much about. I watched one of the recent press conferences, and a lot of what it offered was essentially a website that collected some data together of, like, here are some hotlines you can call if you are experiencing a mental health crisis, which, like, that's good, but, like, we need, like, actual services. We need, like, a rent moratorium. We need a lot more for... We need a lot more, like, material support.
ICE, and Border Patrol. People have been indiscriminately pulled off the street. Discrimination takes place only on the basis of, are you Somali, are you Latino, or are you Southeast Asian? And then American citizens have been yanked away from their homes after that solely because they look like they are from Mexico or Ecuador or Somalia. That's not how we operate in America. In America, we have these foundational principles of law. We abide by our Constitution. The rule of law is not just something that you say, but it is something that we practice each and every day. And as mayors, we know that. As mayors, we operate in the reality business. It is a reality that we've got to keep people safe on a daily basis. And by the way, we do that, partnering with a number of different jurisdictions, working with our federal government. In Minneapolis, we've worked extensively with the ATF and the FBI and the DEA, the U.S. Attorney's Office, to successfully drive down crime. And despite what you may hear on different media channels, crime is down in virtually every category and virtually every neighborhood of Minneapolis. Minneapolis is a safe city. It is less safe when chaos reigns supreme. It is less...
The only time I have ever felt unsafe in this city is when ICE came to town. That is the only time I have ever felt unsafe in this city. They are the only ones who are threatening us with guns on a daily basis.
Safe when families do not feel comfortable going to school or buying food at the grocery store because they're worried that their very family might get ripped apart. It is less safe when we have roving bands of agents marching down the street just looking for somebody who might be concerned. And I gotta tell you, everybody is concerned when you have that kind of occupation. And so we've been very clear. The Operation Metro Surge needs to end. This kind of conduct and siege needs to stop, not just in Minneapolis. It needs to stop nationwide. What's become clear to me is this is obviously not about safety. This is not even about immigration. This is about silencing a narrative or a political position that differs from that of a federal administration.
Any chance he can organize a city-backed volunteer group for observing ICE so if they get attacked, it is a more egregious violation of our city? Honestly, that's a great idea. A more formalized group of folks to, you know, legally observe ICE agents. Like, I think that's a great idea. Something that has, you know, the auspice a group that's under the auspices of the city might genuinely be useful in this circumstance. As I think about it, that's actually a pretty great idea.
We've seen this kind of conduct in other countries. We cannot see it right here in America. This is not a Democratic or a Republican issue. Never once have I made this partisan. This is a foundational principle of making sure...
Well, so not to jump the gun, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I may be on a panel with Jacob Frey, like, next week sometime. We'll see. It's still kind of up in the air. But if I have the chance to ask him about something like that, I certainly will. We'll put some stuff out there.
Or that the endurance of our republic can continue on. It may seem like I'm talking too much on the macro level, or maybe this is a concerning thing to say, but I gotta tell you, we're seeing it in our streets right now. And it is up to each and every one of us to partner together, to work together, to protect those ideals that we hold firm. The power of the federal government is awesome. The military force that they have, they got tanks, they got bazookas. They can lay siege on American cities with thousands of agents and even troops, far outnumbering that of local police department. In Minneapolis, we've heard them say that they will end this siege when we hand over voter rolls.
I mean, I think it should be extremely telling. It should be extremely telling what the current situation is behind the scenes, that the mayor is willing to come out and say, the federal government has tanks and bazookas and guns and far outnumber us, because that is telling a lot about the nature of this situation that I don't think a lot of people have really latched onto yet, which is that we're talking about a low-grade civil war right now. Like, that's what's happening. Like, we have foreign military invaders coming into Minnesota and Minneapolis to occupy us. And I think, given the comments from Jacob Frey here, and some of the comments from Tim Walz that I encountered earlier today, both seem to be very worried about the possibility of this bubbling over into something a lot nastier, which should concern everybody in the entire country, you know? We'll get to that, shoot bang. Haven't Trump and Homan talked about the Twin Cities operation using similar language as a foreign regime change operation? Yes. Yes. Every day I'm hoping that the temperature comes down, that the pressure releases a little bit, so that, like, we stop getting closer to that horrible, horrible line. And yet, it keeps building.
We've seen them attack and invade, not just with this occupation, but also with the Department of Justice being used as a weapon. They're investigating me and
Alexandria Star, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome.
Several other local elected officials, not because we've done something wrong, but because we have exhibited one of the core responsibilities that both I and you have as mayors. And that is the core and foundational responsibility to speak on behalf of your constituents. I'm going to continue to speak on behalf of my constituents. We won't be intimidated in Minneapolis, and if there is any place to take inspiration from, don't take it from me. Take it from the 435,000 Minneapolis residents that call our great city home, and the many more that come and go. Take it from the tens of thousands of people that have stood up and peacefully protested to say we love our neighbor, we care about our collective family, and we're going to do everything possible to keep them safe. Take inspiration from the people that are dropping their neighbors off to the grocery store or standing guard outside a daycare to make sure that their families don't get ripped apart. Take it from the countless people that are exhibiting this foundational love of both city and, importantly, country. This is an opportunity to be a patriot, to stand up for the kinds of liberties and freedoms that we all hold dear. As a nation of immigrants, it should not matter where you are from. We rise based on our own merit. We fall based on our own flaws. Whole communities are not held accountable for the actions of a few. In America, we've got that kind of due process. We got to stand by that due process.
I do think, like, that particular line really missed the mark, especially coming off of an entire rant about how we got us. You know, people are showing up for one another and keeping each other safe. and then talking about how we fall based on our own flaws. Like, I mean, if we fall based on our own flaws, aren't you also making the argument that we catch one another?
Process where you actually have rights. Those rights are exhibited in the form of a court system. And the battlefield that we need to be operating on is that court system right now. Look, in cities, we have laws that we abide by. We have work that we need to do. And the reality is you can't exercise the extraordinary power that the federal government has to force nationwide outcomes on localized issues, leaving our own citizens as collateral damage in a hostile negotiation. By their own words, what we've seen this administration push for is this whole concept that might makes right. That might makes right. Stephen Miller has pushed for this concept, calling it the iron law of the world. That might makes right. Stephen Miller is wrong. Time and again, America has rejected the law of the jungle. Time and again, America has rejected this notion that might makes right. That notion and that belief that we are of something greater than simply force has allowed our country to rise in international influence and allowed great cities to be laboratories of democracy. We must reject the notion that...
Well, yeah, if the iron law of the world sounds awfully Nazi coming from Stephen Miller, that's because Stephen Miller is a Nazi.
It might makes right. Again and again. We must understand that it is not the clash of iron that furthers the notions of democracy, but it is the intense battle of ideas. Might does not make right. In cities, we all recognize that ideas make right. And so, from Portland, Maine, to Portland Avenue in Minneapolis, to Portland, Oregon, mayors, we do not back down to bullies. We stand up for democracy. We understand that the common ideals that we hold are essential to the endurance of our great republic. This may not have been a battle that we signed up for. Each and every one of us entered public service for a different reason. Some of us entered to keep our cities safe. Some of us entered because we love to build affordable housing. Some of us entered because we care about climate. But now is also a moment when we all got to stand together. You have this unique relationship with the American electorate. This is more important than being a Democrat or a Republican. This has to do with our day-to-day lives, who we are as a people, who we are as a democracy, and who we can be as American citizens. Mayors have that important role. I know that you will carry it out, and I cannot be prouder to be part of this tremendous team. And so, on behalf of all of these incredible Minneapolis residents that are going through a very difficult time right now, to say the least, thank you. On behalf of the next city and the city after that may experience this kind of invasion, thank you. We got to hold rock solid. We cannot back down. Our cities, our mayors are what will hold this democracy together. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I understand some of you might be frustrated watching that whole speech, but understand what he's doing at this conference of mayors is pretty vital work to build bridges with other groups of folks, other mayors, other leaders around the country, in order to come up with a game plan, in order to, make sure that when we enter this period that is coming of ICE expansion, due to using its budget to recruit more and more people and build more and more facilities, we are all going to be in the same boiling pot. And we in Minneapolis have to hold strong and try to do our best to limit the damage that is going to come to all y'all. All right? And if you are not in a place currently under ICE occupation, you all got to start getting organized. You all got to start joining your local Dems, joining the local DSA, joining your local church groups if you don't got either of those, but I'm sure most of you do have them. Join whatever group you have available to you that you feel comfortable getting involved with, and make sure you are going out there and actively working in your community. We have to build up the apparatus that Minnesota and Minneapolis had prior to ICE arriving here. We have to rebuild and replicate that decentralized grassroots system in every major city in this country. It is necessary for you guys to take a look at what is happening here. ICE targeting schools, parents stepping up and getting attached to different organizing groups in the area in order to keep their schools safe, and things spiraling out from there. We get organized. Look what happened here and try to replicate the organizational structure that you might need. Okay? Start drawing up those plans. Start getting people involved now, because then it will be easier for you guys to respond in force when ICE starts poking and prodding to see which areas they should be seeping into. So folks, if you need help getting organized with your local Dems, join our Discord, reach out to Dragonfly. If you need help getting organized with your local DSA and making it more effective, join our Discord, reach out to Gamergy. It is necessary now more than ever to step up and get organized. It's not enough to just show up to a protest. We have to start showing up to these meetings. Okay? Postmodern Prometheus, thank you for subscribing with Prime. I really, really do appreciate you. Because, folks, this is going to be everywhere. This is going to be everywhere. I want to share with you guys a horrifying video coming out of Nebraska earlier today. All right? This is a video from News Channel Nebraska. An ICE protester struck at a student protest outside of a school. This vehicle with the Trump flag pulled up in front of the school. You can see this boy get in with his flip-flops in winter. And you can see that this person drove directly into a protester. Right here.
Oh my God!
Now, you might notice something about this school, specifically that it is a high school. That's right. That driver drove over a child who was out protesting the murder of an innocent man in broad daylight. I think we have to have a serious conversation on what peaceful protesting is. Jacob, shut the fuck up. That man just drove over a child. What's wrong with you? Y'all are crazy. Agree, he's 100% in the wrong. Then why the fuck you bringing up peaceful protest? We have to have a conversation about it. Dude, there's a time and place. And after playing a video where you just saw a child get run over by a car, saying we need to talk about the problem of peaceful protests, what's wrong with you? Stop it. You can't contribute positively,
Just
don't.
'cause.
The Rodway, thank you for the $10 super chat. Appreciate it. If you want to call in and debate, wait until I'm in a call-in debate show. I do those now. Every other week. Thursdays. But until then, at least pretend to be someone who gives a shit about other people in this country.
I would remind
Now, I want to play this excerpt from a Atlantic interview with Tim Walz. Okay? Yeah, folks, you can catch me, by the way. I'm over on The Line every other week now, every other Thursday. It's a call-in debate show. You can catch it over on Jimmy Snow's channel. There's also a channel called... I don't know the exact URL, so you'll forgive me, but it's called The Line. It's a debate show. You can find me over there. There you go. Wait, is that student okay? I have no idea. This happened earlier today. I have no updates
Satan,
on it.
angelic face emoji.
The Rod Way, thank you for the $50 super chat. My goodness. Thank you very, very much. Yes, Q&A The Line, exactly. Thank you. This is the URL. Awesome. Yes, this is the show. There are also several other spin-off network channels that you can check out. Did they get his license number? I'm sure someone can derive the license plate number from a number of videos that were filmed during that time. It is a matter of time before they find that person. But the fact is, that's where this hatred is pushing this country. You know? Someone showing up to a high school protest in order to, like, I don't know, spew hatred at students and run them over and then drive off trying to pretend that nothing happened. Watched you on Jimmy Snow earlier and you kicked ass. Thank you, Pepper Y. Or Pepper, Wisconsin. Jimmy Snow and The Line. There you go. But it is really important that we take a look at this. I'm going to link the entire thing here. The entire interview with The Atlantic that Tim Walz did. And Jacob Rowe, me chiding you for trying to have a conversation about the correct way to protest after we watched a video of a hit-and-run driver, and you not being able to listen, I'm going to time you out for 24 hours. You can try again tomorrow. There you go. Let's see. You gotta, it's called social cues. I understand it can be difficult to read them, but it's a necessary life skill if you want to navigate things called conversations. Now, let's keep going. This is important for you guys to watch and listen to in full. We're going to watch maybe half of it here, but this is an Atlantic interview titled Tim Walz Fears a Fort Sumter Moment in Minneapolis. And for those of you who are need a brushing up on your history, Fort Sumter was the fort at which the first shots of the Civil War rang out. And the South attacked Fort Sumter, and that is what kicked it off. Mad Sludge, thank you for the $10 super chat. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much for the support. So what Tim Walz is worried about here is essentially the federal government coming in to fight for real. But let's listen to him talk about this.
Popular on immigration than any president in the last 50 years. And this was supposedly that. And I would remind them, we had a special election here yesterday in Minnesota. The results of that race was 95-5. The Democrat won. It's a pretty blue district, but I think you see what's happening here.
Was there any point where Walz felt like he could have done anything differently to de-escalate or tone things down or even prevent what happened? Because he came in, somewhat hot, I would say, in his interview with you.
I think he's been pretty adamant that the state and local governments have operated carefully and competently here. And he was firm in his position that when it comes to immigration enforcement, they'll comply with federal law, but they're not going to go out of their way to take these steps to assist, Trump's immigration enforcement operations.
I'm not sure I can do much more. I'm not going to send my police in to search preschools. I'm not going to have them walk down the street and ask brown people for their papers. I'm not going to do that because that's not my job, and I don't think it's constitutional. If they want to do their job, and they've operated for decades since they've been formed in Minnesota, and if you want to do it by due process, with humanity, with decency, and by the law, We've always worked with you. So I don't know what more they want. I'm not going to join you in battle gear with my people on the streets. I'm not going to grab 5-year-olds out of daycares. I'm just simply not going to do that. And I'm not going to not hold you accountable when you do this. I mean, can we all just ground ourselves again that after the first murder, the Vice President of the United States said, you have absolute immunity? I don't know if I'm Yale, I'm embarrassed. You gave a law degree for that? I don't have one, and I know that's not true. But look at what he said. And I'm telling you, the attitude and the aggressiveness and the interactions of this, countless things. Reporters have been there that these guys joking like it's a video game and things like that. The disruption and the moral harm that they have done to our state is unimaginable. And I would just say, if you're watching this from the outside and you see some of this, it's worse than you think, it's deeper than you think. And that assault I said on, I think they hate us because we have low childhood poverty rates. I think they hate us because we have high home ownership rates. I think they hate us because we have a progressive taxation system, meaning if you're rich, you're going to pay more. I think they hate this because this is a state that works. And that's assault will come to your state soon.
Well, and they hate us because we're not as racist as they want us to be. Which isn't to say that Minnesota doesn't have problems with racists, right? We absolutely do. But they hate Minnesota. Specifically, Miller and Donald Trump hate Minnesota because they've gotten it in their heads that they would have won the majority white state of Minnesota had it not been for undocumented black and brown people skewing the election results. They've gotten high on their own supply. They genuinely believe that. They thought that by sending ICE into Minnesota, that they would be granted, that they would be greeted as liberators, that they would be seen as like cleaning up the streets, right? And you know that they thought that, by the way. You know that they thought that because of this.
We do have breaking news to bring you this Thursday morning. A statement put out just moments ago, early on this Thursday, by Senator Susan Collins, saying that ICE is ending its enhanced operations in the state of Maine.
According to a press release from Collins' office, there are no ongoing operations as of this morning. Collins says that she spoke with Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem after urging the Trump administration to reconsider its approach to ICE operations in Maine. According to Senator Collins, ICE and Border Patrol will continue their normal operations, and Collins will continue to work with Secretary Noem to end, quote, illegal immigration, drug smuggling, and other transnational criminal activity. We have reached out to Senator Collins' office for an interview and additional information on this. We'll update you as soon as we learn more.
So what that reveals to us is that why is ICE being sent to Maine? Why is ICE being sent to Minnesota? It's because in the mind of a white supremacist racist like Donald Trump, like Stephen Miller, they think that sending ICE agents into Maine is going to help Susan Collins. Is going to help her win the state. That's what they thought. And then all of a sudden, ICE starts going door to door and starts like rounding up more people, starts like showing up at schools. And it turns out people in Maine hate that. And it turns out that it's actively radicalizing people in Maine against Republicans. And so when Susan Collins then goes to Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and says, hey guys, this is actually killing me in the polls. This is actually going to kill my chances at re-election. Suddenly, the operation ends. Suddenly they're like, whoa, okay, we do have to end this. But they're doing it here in Minnesota because they thought it was a good idea. Because they thought they were going to get good results. And when it turned out that they weren't going to get good results, well, they recalibrated. They recalibrated to say, well, actually, we're going to use this opportunity to extort the state of Minnesota for their voter rolls. Because obviously things aren't on the up and up there. And if we can't clean up all those sneaky undocumented immigrants off the streets, well, because of this resistance network, we're going to get their voter rolls. And we're going to redouble our efforts until they give over their voter rolls. And that's what's happening here now, right? Their first mistake, though, was thinking that people in Minnesota, white people in Minnesota, were going to easily give up their neighbors and not give a shit about the people that they live around because they thought like racists and are incapable of thinking like neighbors. That's kind of where we're at right there. Like, it's not just because Minnesota excels in a number of different ways comparably to other states. It is also because of their own racist delusions.
After the break, we hear Governor Walz's reaction to the news that federal agents involved in the Alex Preddy shooting have been placed on leave. And if he thinks we're in a Fort Sumter moment.
And Applebaum powers, I wondered, don't he and his team fear that these same powers could one day be used by a different administration and a different president to achieve very different goals? Well, maybe they are afraid, and maybe that's why they're using their new tools to change our institutions, even to alter the playing field in advance of midterm elections later this year, to make sure their opponents can't win.
Ultimately, destroying trust is the currency of autocrats.
We could win, but we are very, very, very likely to lose if we keep treating this as business as usual.
Reporting on the sweeping changes unfolding in our country and preparing you to think about what might happen next. The new season of Autocracy in America, available now.
Go check it out. It might be good.
We've all been...
Wait, what, if any, is the legal justification of seizing voter rolls? There's literally no justification. States in America have final say over how elections unfold in their in their respective territory. The federal government has no control over state elections or how states, oversee elections. Like it is like a sacrosanct type of right for each state to have say over how their voting is done. Which is why a judge in court asked the Trump administration, are you trying to achieve by force what you cannot achieve through the courts? Which is to say, get those voter rolls.
Reading and hearing a lot about Minneapolis, watching the videos. Did he address at all the trauma to the state, like how it felt to be there?
Oh boy. I mean, he just described this as utterly dire.
We've got students not in school. We've got students who are afraid. We have people now, and I just have to say it, I have...
one of the kind of amazing moments to me was when he talked about suburban vehicles, these SUVs, that his own residents, his own constituents mistook that for ICE vehicles and basically fled from him.
I've watched it. I've watched people run. I've watched people run when it's drying. And you think about the psychology of the stress that is. You see vehicles around here that look like this that say, we're not ICE, I'm a teacher, or whatever. I asked my team, I said, maybe we need to say, it's security perspective. I think most Minnesotans wouldn't run or one finger salute me, but it's just, you can feel the fear.
Well, what's the logical endpoint of this kind of vendetta and also of this kind of open hostility against blue states, blue communities? I mean, do you worry about a kind of civil war scenario in this country?
Well, I don't want to alarm people, but I mean, the people who think that, Governor Walz should call out the National Guard and arrest ICE. Guns pointed at Americans on this is certainly not where we want to go. I think what you're seeing is the power far beyond the bullet in this is the people who are out there.
I just want to, back this up a little bit.
Kind of civil hostility against blue states, blue communities. I mean, do you worry about a kind of civil war scenario in this country?
Well, I don't want to alarm people, but I mean, the people who think that, Governor Walz should call out the National Guard and arrest ICE. Guns pointed at Americans on this is certainly not where we want to go. I think what you're seeing is the power far beyond the bullet in this is the people.
So that's not a no. That's not a, I haven't thought about that. That is, we don't want a situation where the National Guard is facing down the federal agents, and guns are pointed at each other. Because if a bullet gets shot in that situation, we start entering some truly unmapped territory. What he's meaning when he says far beyond the bullet in this is that he believes that people power right now is going to travel farther than any bullet can, right? And the fact that he is talking around this question and cannot give like just a straight or a flat like, oh no, we're not even close. No, the Civil War, get out of here. Like he dances around it because there is a dark reality at the heart of what is unfolding here. It is why Jacob Frey, in his speech we just watched, is talking about, the size of what the federal government can bring militarily to Minnesota versus what he as a mayor can summon up in terms of armed individuals. They're talking about like the logistics of confrontation. And it is very scary. And so this does explain, I think, a lot of their hesitancy to call up the National Guard or police in order to directly oppose federal agents. I don't know if there's really any way around that type of confrontation. It feels to me like the mayor and Walz are relying on people power in order to get done what is very clearly like break glass in case of emergency, like extraordinary circumstance, there's no other option type of situation, a final contingency, if you will. It is fucking scary. It's actually a lot worse than being angry at Tim Walz. It's a lot worse to see why he is so hesitant to do what he can. It is worrying that it is so close that he feels the need to talk around this issue.
People who are out there. The way this ends is quite honestly, if they're not able to, and I think Pam Bondi played the hand, interfering with our election systems, they will be wiped out, and this White House will spend the next 2 years in court with people facing potentially prosecution, and they will not be able to do their agenda. But I hear Americans on this is what makes you think we can get to November? I'll go back to my analogy.
That is a very good question.
On this, winter's long, but we're prepared for it. If it takes being in the streets till November, we'll be there. If it takes fighting them in court till November, we'll be there. And I said, just for their thing, if they want to think about this, do you not think Minnesota's always first or second in voter turnout? Do you not think that tens of thousands of people who stood out in 40 below zero are not going to show up in a heated voting booth to vote against this? If you're a Republican, you're going to lose. You're going to lose here. And that is going to have repercussions. And look, I'm not going to, people can make peace with their own morality and on this, but at some point in time, these people are thinking about that, and you're seeing it across there. I think there's some that actually have conscience. I think Tom Massey, I served with, actually does. I think Tom Tillis, who I served with and served on committees with, I think these folks truly do have it. I think they found their spine. I think it's spreading like wildfire. And what I do know is, if that catches a little more fire, you're going to see the most impotent, ineffective presidency you've ever seen, because it's shut down. They can shut it down. They keep asking, what are the Democrats going to do? We need to do more. We need to do everything. Republicans can end this.
Just one more question on the National Guard, and you said people want you to order the Guard to arrest the agents. Have you thought about a scenario, a kind of worst case scenario, in which there's a clash between these different,
Well, we work at everything to avoid that. And I think following the law, and it's one thing that we've always done, I will follow the law to a T. I spent 8 hours in front of Congress talking about our state. We're not a sanctuary state. Now, do counties have the ability to make their own? Sure, they do. And that's always been Minnesota law. They try to make the case that we're not helping, we're not doing this. We follow the law all the way. But I said, we get to this point, is what I told them. At what point are we going to have to stand up and push back more? You killed our people. You closed the crime scene, and you won't tell us who they are. Does it strike you as strange that I've had 2 of my citizens killed? In one, they're angry. They, being DHS and the president, are angry that it feels like they got doxxed with Ross's name, who was part of the shooting of Renee. But I don't know who did this. I don't know if these guys are on the streets right now here in Minneapolis.
Well, so there's been reporting they were placed on administrative leave. You still don't know the names of these officers?
No. And I got to be honest with you. To be generous in this, I'll do my Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. I can't verify this, so I don't trust them. I don't trust them. They're on administrative leave. And at this point in time, I told Tom, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But unless I see a reduction in these folks on the streets, I'm going to have to say that to my folks. So look, we all think we all want to avoid that, but I think the reality has sunk in this week. If you thought you could pass this by and you thought there was nothing there, I mean, is this a Fort Sumter, John Brown moment? Where are we at on this?
There it is. I do think it is extraordinarily telling that he wasn't led to that comparison by the interviewer. You know, sometimes an interviewer will do that thing where they say a phrase that the person they're interviewing then repeats.
We are watching January 6th again in slow motion.
Josh sees, thank you for the $5 super chat. We're seeing like he brought that up on his own. He made a direct comparison to what is happening here in Minnesota to Fort Sumter, or Sumter, rather. The first opening salvo of the Civil War, but he also made a comparison to John Brown, the firebrand that arguably lit the spark that fueled the fires that led to the Civil War. Tim Walz knows what he's talking about. His entire educational background, he specialized in teaching history. He doesn't make these comparisons idly. They aren't something he said heat of the moment with no thought. He understands what he's saying. I believe what we need is a coordinated national effort by every city willing to sign on to institute local voting holiday with transport efforts to get people to the polls. I think that'd be a wonderful thing to do. Okay? I think that is actually a great idea. I'm going to write that down just in case I have an opportunity to ask Mayor Frey next week. But it is astonishing, and we're in some dark territory. Also, hello, Rodway. I'm glad you enjoyed me on the line earlier. It is a terrifying moment.
And we're doing everything right. And I have said it time and time again. The way you win this is through nonviolence, that you cannot do violence. And I know my constituents are mad at me for saying that. They're shooting us. They're killing us. They're beating us. They're taking our children. But you see what's happening now. For all that power and all that cruelty, they are retreating massively. Now, I believe they'll only retreat far enough to get to the next day or the next news cycle. But again, they underestimated this state, and I think they're underestimating the American people. I'm still baffled. If you were going to pick two states to mess with, Maine and Minnesota, especially in the middle of winter, not smart.
You're still under investigation, is that right?
As far as I know.
Did that come up at all with the conversation with the president?
I will not bring it up. The only thing I asked him on the investigations was I told both the president and Tom Homan they needed to immediately drop the investigation into Renee Good's wife. And as a show of goodwill to us, I expected that to be done today. I don't know if it has been yet, but I will not bring up any of the others. But that one I feel very strongly about.
What did the president say about that?
I don't think he replied anything on that, but Tom Homan said he would call Kash Patel and check with people. He told me that.
Is there anything else about the president's tone or the...
You know, I understand. I understand the need to hold on to the idea that what these people are saying is true, but if you cannot believe that ICE agents haven't even been put on administrative leave, then like he also, and it's implied, I guess, here, he also cannot believe without seeing it actually happen that these requests are being at all followed through on. I have, and I'm sure he also has those doubts too. But he doesn't want to tank the off chance that maybe they're doing something about it. It's rough. I'm gonna once again link this. I think you all should listen to the full thing. We started, about a third of the way through, and there's maybe about another section left here. So there's a lot in here to take a look at and turn over and think about for sure. Especially regarding why different Minnesota leaders aren't doing what we otherwise would want them to do. What seems to us to be the obvious response. And I know when I listen to this for the stream, I know a pre-watch. I felt a chill or like a weight in my gut, just like a heaviness, and it is really, really, really depressing to think that the next 3 years would be just full-time ICE occupation. At the very least, even the next year, just ICE occupation and being terrified anytime one of my family members goes outside. It isn't tenable, but we are being asked to ten it. You know? Is there a way for the US to call a premature federal election? No. I mean, the hope here, right, is that it's not 3 years of this. The hope is we get to election day this year for the midterm, and we completely and utterly shellac them in every possible avenue and every possible race, and utterly and completely obliterate the Republican Party. That's the alternative. The light at the end of a very long tunnel is that we make it through to November. We put our votes out, and we persevere through whatever pressure is trying to keep us from the polls or subvert our election results, and we utterly defeat our adversaries. And I am hoping that that is the case, and then we can then bring an end to the worst of these abuses. But it's still not a great prospect for the next year. I don't think you'll have to deal with that. I do think they'll move along, but then it will just be another city, another state. I mean, that could very well be. My hope would be that we stop it here, and they meekly go back to whatever they were doing before, you know? What about ICE being at the poll station or them seizing ballots? Well, there are people called poll watchers who can, in fact, be armed, that prevent exactly that type of interference at polls and polling stations. I guess it depends on what state you're in, if poll watchers can be armed. That'll depend on your state and local laws, all right? No more moderate Dems can't have collaborators? Agreed. That is why every single stream I do, I tell people, get involved in your local Dems and radicalize them. Push out these corporatist fucks who are basically taking money in exchange for political favors. No more of that shit. We need to do that by getting involved, because if we're not involved, those corporatist fucks are going to take up the space. We need to get involved with our local Dems and our local DSA. Build up that local labor muscle with DSA. Build up that local electoral muscle in your local Dems. And if you need help to figure out where to start, join our Discord, reach out to Dragonfly for help with your local Dems, reach out to GamerG for help with your local DSA. Both of them have been organizers for a long time and are willing to put their expertise at your disposal to help make your your local politics better, your local Dems more radical and progressive, your local DSA more effective. Okay? We can, in fact, actually do something about this. We are not as powerless as all of these moneyed individuals who want to control our politics would lead us to believe. We are not powerless in this equation. And as evidence of that, I want to show you guys what local organizing can do at a town hall in Alabama. Here you have it. This is from yesterday. This is Congressman Barry Moore.
Why are people not getting due process? Why are immigrants not getting due process?
Due process for a citizen and a non-citizen are different.
False.
False.
Lies. The 5th and 14th Amendments allow for it. The Supreme Court has backed it many times.
This is Alabama, guys.
Shame. Shame. Bye, Felicia. I don't think he'll be staying for questions.
Oh. Look, if people in Alabama can show up to a town hall and send a Republican congressman running with his tail between his legs, folks, you can do it in your local area. Let's go. Shame your local Dem. There are people out there doing it right now. And you know what? They're doing a great job. Let me just throw this out there. Yeah, here we go.
Swazi, I know you voted to increase ICE funding, so I wanted to get something for you. This is an adult diaper for when you pee yourself in front of Donald Trump. You can wear this. It's really nice. You're the type of leader we need right now. Someone who soils themselves with fascists are at our door.
I just would like to say really quick, if I could, as a Jewish man, I have never felt safer than when there is a masked Gestapo in the street. So thank you, Congressman Tom Swazi, for funding ICE. I think the only way, I'm on your side, the only way we can fight anti-Semitism is by aligning ourselves with white supremacists. So thank you, Congressman Tom Swazi. I know he apologized, but I just want to reiterate, nobody could have predicted that ICE would have been killing innocent people. No, nobody could have predicted, except literally everyone. Literally everyone could have predicted that. Anybody could have predicted. I feel so safe as a Jewish man being dragged out of a synagogue for protesting the Gestapo.
I'm going to read the names of the 9 people that were killed by ICE this month. Just this month. Alex Peretti, Renee Good, Keith Porter. I'm reading names of people killed by ICE. You're going to touch me? You're going to touch me? Alex Peretti, Renee Good, Keith Porter, Parity Law. These people were killed by ICE this month. Are you going to throw me out? These people, 9 people were killed by ICE this month. And you're throwing me out while I'm reading their names? How fucking dare you? How dare you? You are funding our occupation. I should be ashamed of myself. I'm reading the names of the people that were killed by ICE this month. Get out of here. 9 people were killed by ICE this month. 3 of them were gunned down. 6 of them died while in ICE custody. We are funding our own occupation with our tax dollars.
Why don't you complain about Iran?
What?
Why don't you complain about Iran?
9 people have died this month.
I'm not sure if anyone got to say before they were dragged out, this guy taking tons of money from AIPAC as Israel commits a genocide. So I just wanted to add that in the mix. Congressman Tom Swazi,
oh no! Oh my God! This guy's gonna put me on the internet.
Oh no, dude!
Oh my God! Not the internet! Oh my God! Dude, that's exactly what you're doing. Oh my God! So cool! Oh my God!
What a psychotic freak. Imagine walking up to Walter Masterson and thinking, "I'm gonna make you famous with this internet video." Like, oh, okay, buddy. Oh, okay.
It's a good cause, and you're just a hired gun for a fucking genocidal maniac.
We need more.
You need more?
Yeah.
More protests?
Get the fuck out of here!
I'm happy to.
Wait, I thought you said you need more protesters.
We need more protesters.
You gotta be more specific. Who are you talking to right now?
We need more protesters.
You can take pictures of me.
Well, okay, great.
Great.
I love you all, losers.
Okay, for the last time.
Do you guys support ICE?
Private property.
You totally do.
Do you support ICE?
I'm not answering questions.
You're not going to answer whether you support ICE or not?
No.
No.
Oh, really?
Oh, interesting.
I'll make it easy. I do not support ICE. I do not support the occupation of our own cities. But that is actually a very difficult answer to give for some people.
As Jewish people, we do not support a Gestapo. My father was, I'm
not interested, guys.
You're not? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Private property, I've told you multiple times. Please.
Not interested. Okay.
Yeah, there's a public servant on your private property.
All right. I would like to say I'm also not interested in Gestapo murder of civilians.
Yeah.
But that's not an easy conclusion to come to for everybody.
Yeah, and you did fail. Yeah. You were on the wrong side of history. And it's time to go back on the other side.
Okay, that's it.
You're not powerless. You are not powerless, even if you are a minority voice in your community. You are not powerless to show up and clown on an elected official. You are not powerless to show up and make loud noises with your voice in order to, make these elected officials look bad and feel guilty, because many of them who are voting to fund the occupation of cities like mine are all too happy to do it when they are receiving no kinds of consequences. They aren't made to look silly. They aren't made to feel bad about it. They think that this will never come back to haunt them, that it will be some city over there. It will never be one in my district. Guys, when I say politics is organized bullying of our elected officials, I do mean it. You guys can just show up to a public event and bully your local elected official. Obviously, while operating within the limits of the law, but you can be a clown in front of them and make them look bad. Never underestimate the power of clowning on your enemies. It is funny sometimes when transphobes come in to try and make me feel bad about my body, or bad about the transness that I have in my appearance, whatever that means. And then they're like, your Adam's apple is probably huge. And it's like, man, you're in a target-rich environment, and you actually picked the one thing I'm not sensitive about. It's crazy. It's wild stuff, Guys, you're not gonna win against that. Stop. You're embarrassing yourselves. Also, every single one of you is dumb as a box of rocks. You couldn't even spell the word your. But then again, I guess that makes sense because you guys struggle with pronouns.
Fucking pronouns!
Whatever. It's funny. Let's continue on, though. You guys have more power. And I just want to say, more power than they give you credit for. And I just want to say, conservatives are bigger saps than you've ever given them credit for, okay? Don't be scared of conservatives, folks. Just get more politically active, right? That's the job. The job is, you have dumb dipshit Republicans in your districts, wherever you are, where they're showing up and they're running to be on the school board. They're running to be in minor positions of power all around your community. And a lot of us have gotten too complacent and not challenged that. And it's your job to step up and start challenging that where you see it in your community, if you can, obviously. And I say this because conservatives, a lot of them are dumb, which is why you get this type of organizing email and fundraising email when you are a Donald Trump supporter. This might seem disconnected, but just wait. Are you an illegal alien? I reached out last week about my citizens only survey. Your file says you're a top MAGA patriot, but my records to my survey still say response pending. Don't tell me you're an illegal alien. This cannot be true. This is your final moment to prove me wrong. Please. Are you a proud American citizen, or does ICE need to come and track you down? take citizens only survey. This is the type of like fundraising bullshit that is functioning when it comes to MAGA. This is what works for them. They're like, oh, he's gonna send ICE after me unless I fill out the survey. Like, it's nuts. That is an official fundraising email, by the way. Like, when we talk about like these fundraising groups, and this is true both on the Democratic side and the Republican side, like 90% of their efforts are directed towards fundraising from the elderly and mentally infirm who are going to be like more easily duped by emails like this. That's where they're at. It's crazy. Like, they're trying to fundraise off of the misery that they're spreading in and across the country. I mean, like, this is just today, folks. This is just today.
Okay, do we got her name? What's your name?
ICE detaining mom who went out to warm her car calls someone to let them know her kids will be left alone. She was just warming up her car to take her kids to school and go to work.
What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?
Sí, Telma, ayúdame, por favor. Mis niños, por favor.
Did she say her name yet?
Mis niños están. Por favor, Telma, ven, ayúdame.
I'm gonna come around this side.
¿Qué? Estoy afuera, Telmo. Yo vine a prender el carro y ya llegaron. Sí, pero ayúdame, ya mis niños. Bueno, es que ya me sacaron. Sí, por eso es que te llamo, ayúdame. Mis niños están adentro, por favor. Todos.
I mean, this is just happening all the time. There's no reforming this. Yeah, honestly, like, this is one of the nicer disappearances of people in this community. They took several more children from the same elementary school that Liam Ramos was abducted from. Yeah, she just keeps saying, ayúdame. Also, I just want to really heavily emphasize here, the people that they are sending with guns onto the streets of Minneapolis and Minnesota in order to police us and make us safe, they are a danger to us in many, many, many different ways. Yeah, Liam Ramos is the 5-year-old boy who had the blue bunny hat. Other children from his school are now being taken. But also, hey, Border Patrol employee found covered in vomit in St. Paul, charged with drunk driving. A Minnesota State Patrol trooper found Alfredo Mancias Jr. of Corpus Christi, Texas, they're not sending their best, slumped over in a car at 3:25 a.m. Tuesday in the Hamline Midway neighborhood. A CBP employee was charged with drunk driving after he was found passed out covered in vomit. His car was parked in a no parking zone and smelled like alcohol. And then he failed a field sobriety test. Like, the interesting part about this article and what I really want to bring up here is that turns out we can, in fact, arrest federal agents. It turns out that guy's arrested. He's being charged with drunk driving. Just an interesting thing to note. It's just official that we're treating functionally drunk driving as more severe than actively killing multiple people, active murders, active assaults by ICE. Every single ICE officer should be arrested and charged. Also, zombie pup procrastinator. Yes, I have a 3-hour-long video on my channel. Might not be super user-friendly, where we go through meticulously Nick Shirley's video on Minnesota daycares and I mercilessly make fun of him and point out exactly why he is a stupid asshole. So if you find that on my channel, it was uploaded maybe like a week ago, but it is over on my YouTube channel. And folks, I just have to say, when we're talking about concerns over this thing bubbling over into more of a military conflict, it isn't coming out of nowhere. There is a leaked video of Greg Bovino talking to his ICE officers before sending them out for the day. Here is that video.
Arrest as many people that touch you as you want to. Those are the general orders all the way to the top. Everybody fucking gets it if they touch you. You hear what I'm saying? Less legals. We're going to look at shipping tractor trailer loads of that shit in here. So you catch what it's all about us now. It ain't about them. Professional, legal, ethical, moral. You know what we're talking about. Legal, ethical, moral. You're on camera. But other than that, it's what we do. What city is it, Chief? Fucking ours is our fucking city. Arrested.
That's the kind of thing they're talking about. That's the kind of thing they're talking about when they are sending out ICE officers day to day. It is, I mean, like, the idea that Tom Homan can come in and replace Greg Bovino and that it's going to get better, frankly, it's just bullshit. Here is Tom Homan earlier today at a press conference talking about how things are going to change now that he's here.
Can you please be specific about how many ICE and how many Border Patrol agents are currently operating in the state?
I think we're near 3,000. There's been some rotations. Another thing I witnessed when I came here, I'll share this with you. I met with a lot of people.
Again, like an anthropomorphic dog with peanut butter in its mouth, or perhaps just got comedically stung by a bee on its tongue.
A lot of the agents, they've been in theater. Some of these people have been in theater for 8 months.
Some of them have been in the theater. This is a wall. Like, he's talking about it like it's a goddamn tour of duty in Iraq. He's talking about it like it's a goddamn military deployment. Because that's how they think about this. They think about this and they're acting around this as if it is a military occupation of Minnesota.
They've been in theater. Some of these people have been in theater for 8 months. So there's going to be rotations of personnel. Hopefully less now that we have some agreements. Maybe we can make it more efficient and safe. But they've been in theater a long time. And so, there's rotations happen all the time to get people out of here and go home, get some rest and see their families.
He's deliberately invoking military jargon in order to make it even more of a military op, to occupy a civilian American city.
Day after day, can't eat in restaurants, day after day, having people spit on you and blow whistles at you, day after day, having all these threats at you, day after day, having people trying to interfere with you, day after day. They're human. So, we got to rotate these people, and we've already rotated.
Yeah, those poor babies, day after day, having to deal with whistles and getting spat on. Meanwhile, the people of Minnesota, the people of Minneapolis, have to deal day after day with masked men beating them up, doing property damage, driving recklessly, disappearing folks, stealing their children, shooting us in the streets. But, they have to deal with some whistles and, some spit, while they systematically deny medical treatment to those in their custody and cover up their crimes with their buddies. Yeah, it's truly so hard for them. They keep, like, the reason, like, Tom Homan here is talking about this, by the way, is like, oh, well.
They've been in theater, but yeah, the protesters are the paid actors.
Uh-huh, exactly. Saki Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. I don't know. If they were all in theater, why is the Melania showing not sold out here in Minnesota? I don't understand. If they're all constantly in theater, Why are there empty seats in the Melania showing?
But my main focus now is drawdown based upon the great conversations I've had with your state and local leaders. Again, I'm not a fool. I'm not walking away without seeing this put in place. But I take the word of the people I met with. I think they're honest, and I think they're good brokers, that they want public safety protected, and they also want what's happening in the city to go away. And that's my goal.
They, like what's crazy to me, right, is they send out these ICE agents, and they go into, like, a restaurant, and they sit down, they eat the food at the restaurant, and then they arrest the people who made the food. They arrest, like, restaurant workers. That has happened multiple times here. And then they're like, oh, but restaurants are like, don't want to serve us anymore. It's like, bitch, you keep arresting the people who make the food. Of course they don't want to serve you anymore. Get the fuck out of this city. They're goddamn cancers.
Pretty sure the airlines could make her movie an in-flight feature, and people would still walk out.
Sorry, you're blue. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I do appreciate that. Thank you. As you continue to pay attention to what ICE is saying, what the people running ICE are telling ICE officers, what they're saying even at their press conference, what Tim Walz is saying, what, Jacob Frey is saying, and you put it all together, the picture that is being painted here is that everyone involved is kind of talking around a extraordinarily scary possibility that escalation on either side could make more of a reality. I think that is why what we've seen from ICE here is a continuing at the level of intensity that they were previously. I would like to say that we aren't seeing an escalation, but it is, I would argue that it is impossible to say that they're not impossible. It is inevitable that we will see escalation as these ICE agents become more comfortable and more used to the idea that perhaps they aren't going to be accountable for their crimes. Right? We've already got guys drunk driving with ICE, We've already got guys, like, pointing guns and threatening people. We've already got guys, shooting folks in the streets. And, like, it is inconceivable to me that these folks won't become more emboldened as time goes on. Yeah, like, Superjet Guy, I would currently describe it as a stalemate. I don't know which side is going to give. I guess I know, I do know which side is going to give first. It's going to be ICE, right? Like, the people of Minnesota have shown a massive amount of restraint and a massive amount of organizing capacity and a massive willingness to show up. And more people are being radicalized to show up every single day. Every single day. Because more people are seeing what ICE is doing. More people are experiencing it. Yesterday, I played a clip of, like, this elderly white couple who on camera are talking about the experience of exiting their church on a Sunday and seeing one of the congregants snatched up by ICE. And they compared them to bandits. And this is going to continue to radicalize folks. ICE is going to get more cocksure, more scared at the same time, both those things. And this is a recipe for violence turned towards protesters. And if that happens to a greater degree than it has already, we're gonna be in some uncharted territory. I just don't know where this gives, and that's really scary. My hope is that ICE retreats, pulls out, and, like, tries to concoct something like this elsewhere, or, adjusts their tactics or something, but it's really scary. Living here is really scary right now, and I take a lot of hope from the organizing capacity of this community, but it's real fucking scary, guys. And that all brings me to where we're at right now, vis-a-vis what the Democrats in Congress are doing for us, the people who are occupied by ICE. Let's check in, shall we? What has the minority leader, Chuck Schumer, gotten on the table to negotiate for us? Well, he's going to require warrants in some cases, and ICE coordination with state and local law enforcement. And then create a code of conduct and enforce it. And require agents to wear body cams and not masks. So that is actually way less even than was initially reported, and I gotta say, it is woefully inadequate. Not a single one of these things would stop anything that ICE is doing here in Minnesota. The body cameras wouldn't stop them because they don't care if what they do is caught on camera. The lack of masks wouldn't stop them because they believe they have full immunity, regardless of what they do. The idea that, like, you're going to add a requirement for them to have a warrant, we already have a requirement for them to have a warrant from a judge, a judicial judge. It's called the Fourth Amendment. If they're willing to break the Constitution, saying that, oh, well, you sometimes have to have one of those, it's not doing anything. It's redundant. And ICE coordination with state and local law enforcement on investigations, that's great, except that they are already not cooperating. They aren't going to now begin cooperation. They don't care about following the law. Like, there needed to be so much more to this. You think creating a code of conduct and enforcing it, like, you think that's gonna, like, stop them from doing what they do? You saw, like, look, I'll play the video again, okay?
As many people that touch you as you want to. Those are the general orders all the way to the top. Everybody fucking gets it if they touch you. You hear what I'm saying? Less legals? We're going to look at shipping tractor trailer loads of that shit in here. So you catch what it's all about us now. It ain't about them. Professional, legal, ethical, moral. You know what we're talking about. Legal, ethical, moral. You're on camera.
Legal, ethical, moral, professional, you're on camera. So if they are all operating under the assumption that they are on camera and that they're expected to behave professionally, legally, morally, and ethically, and they're not doing any of those things despite knowing that they're on camera, how is a code of conduct going to stop them from doing what they're doing already? They already have some kind of code of conduct, as alluded to by this speech. How is having one that is enforced going to be at all effective? Like, I'm so mad about this. I'm so mad about it. It's so frustrating. And I want you guys to know something even more incredible. All right? Something even more incredible. Which is that this initial agreement, right? And this is actually kind of a good thing, but wait for the gut punch at the end, all right? So the initial agreement that is being pitched are those basic protections, and then what they have agreed to vote yes on is effectively a carve-out for the DHS portion of the bill. Everything else from the other portions of the bill, because there were like 6 different parts, so 5/6 of this bill would be separated and passed, and then this portion of the bill would only be approved of for 2 weeks, which would then give senators more time to negotiate back and forth more guardrails for ICE, which I don't exactly know how that improves your negotiating position. If, like, you're giving away a huge amount of your leverage right off the bat. But there's an argument that could be made that maybe getting these initial things in there and then having more room to negotiate could lead to even more guardrails to prevent ICE from doing certain things. You could make that argument, right? Well, a lot of that is very irrelevant because Lindsey Graham exists. Now, Lindsey Graham, I need you all to know, is essentially holding all of this up. Like, I don't really know how else to say it, but here, let's take a look. real quick. No Senate vote tonight. Couldn't get all senators to allow a speedy vote. Schumer tells reporters Lindsey Graham is blocking it. That's the holdup, Schumer tells reporters. Graham wants to keep a provision letting him sue to pocket $500,000 over January 6th phone records seized. So Lindsey Graham, by himself, killed this entire thing so that he can extort the federal government for $500,000, right? And I just have to ask, if Lindsey Graham is strong enough and powerful enough to do that, why aren't more of our Democrats doing that? Maybe it's because they're in the minority, but like it seems to me, I don't know. We live in hell world, man. We live in hell world. And like there's not going to be any consequence for Lindsey Graham on this. Like Lindsey Graham is trying to steal $500,000 in taxpayer money. Like that's what's happening here. No one in the media is going to make a stink about it. No one in the media is going to say like this is like a removable offense. No, like the same way for some reason, like the media just doesn't seem to care that Tom Homan took a $50,000 bribe, and it is on camera from the FBI taking $50,000 from their informant, and nothing happened to him, right? Like the mainstream media is so utterly broken right now and so utterly incapable of holding people to account. Can you explain his claimed justification for asking for that money? No, I can't. I can't. I just know that is what he is claiming and trying to hold up Congress to do. It is true. We're truly living in a baffling set of political circumstances. And as like someone who actually lives in Minneapolis, who actually lives in Minnesota and is actually like seeing ICE operating the way it is here and experiencing like the fear and the worry every single time my partner goes out, every single time my family goes outside, I'm so angry. I am so angry every day. I'm exhausted by how angry I am constantly at the utter failures of this administration. Not just this administration, but this administration's opposition. The Chuck Schumers of this world, the Amy Klobuchars of this world, the opposition to this fascist administration is weak as hell, and it makes me so fucking mad that they are not using every single lever of power that they have in order to stop this. Many of them think that it's politics as usual, that they're going to get back in the driver's seat and it's all going to be fine again. It's all going to be hunky-dory. They don't fucking get it, man. We spent most of this talking about how our local leaders are having to talk around the idea of potentially the start of a civil conflict in this country. And then we have to talk around the fact that the federal government is openly saying, treat the people of Minnesota as if they are enemy combatants. And then the people in the DC Beltway are just sitting around circle jerking about maybe getting $500,000. And like, oh, let's get some body cameras on these guys. As if they aren't being filmed all the time. As if they aren't being filmed and documented all the time by this organized community. We'll give them another code of conduct. Surely that will stop them. They're covering up execution and murder. I feel like I'm going crazy. So thank you for allowing me and indulging me as I do this show to in part to remind myself that I'm not crazy to feel this way. I'm not crazy to be this angry. I'm not crazy to demand accountability for the people who are failing us and the people who are harming us. Yeah, they're covering up concentration camps, for God's sake. ICE has like $100 billion slush fund, and they've cut off medical care to people in their facilities. They've cut off medical care to children and the elderly in their care. Some of those people are going to be there for years. And I made this point earlier today on the line, but like they have deliberately capped the number of immigration judges to 800. The estimate is if they had 1,300 immigration judges, it would take 10 years to clear all of the immigration cases that are currently sitting before immigration judges. Who I want to remind you guys are not real judges. Immigration judges are just people hired for the job. They don't have to have legal expertise, really. Immigration court is like an alien world to an actual judicial court. And like, even with 1,300,
I just talked to the
it would take
Baileys,
10 years.
and they said that another sternly worded letter will get Trump to reduce ICE violence.
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
I've never seen the Baileys so aroused. Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. Very much appreciated. Why did they even cap the number of judges? They did it because Republicans are funded in part by the private prison industry. And these concentration camps, where all of these ICE detainees are sent, are run by private corporations. So it is a massive government handout to some of the biggest companies in the country that handle incarceration. And in these facilities, they make all kinds of money off of every single detainee they have. And so by slashing the number of immigration judges, what actually happens is you are trapping these people into the concentration camp system for longer and longer periods of time. The more people they put in there and the fewer immigration judges they have, the longer those companies are able to make money. So they're doing this to milk your taxpayer dollars for their rich asshole friends. It's always about the money. And I just, every aspect of this, you know, it's why I've gone from saying we need to abolish ICE to we need to abolish DHS. There's nothing that DHS oversees that could not just stand on its own or be rolled into another agency. And there's nothing that DHS does with ICE that could not simply be completely and utterly eliminated and replaced with paperwork and fines. You could replace everything they do with like a couple hundred bureaucrats. And you could eliminate the need to enslave people in private prison camps. You could eliminate the concentration camps. You could eliminate the armed, anonymous secret police that are snatching people up, beating people, killing people. You could eliminate all of it by treating undocumented people in this country the same way you treat someone when you pull them over and give them a speeding ticket. There is no reason for this much human misery, this much brinksmanship, this much threats of violence and invasion. There is no reason for it, and you could replace it all with a goddamn speeding ticket. We got to get organized, folks. We got to get organized. We got to keep ourselves safe. So, folks, join your local Dems. Join your local DSA. If you need help, join our Discord. Reach out to Dragonfly for help with your local Dems. Reach out to GamerG for help with your local DSA. Get involved with some kind of local group, folks, because if we cannot stop them here in Minnesota, here in Minneapolis, we cannot freeze them here, they are going to be coming to your neck of the woods soon. Okay? So get organized today. Start doing it. Make your commitment right here, right now, to go to the next meeting for your local Dems, to go to the next meeting for your local DSA. Okay? I know you guys can do it. If you can't physically go, you can you can zoom in, okay? You can join digitally. All right? Guarantee you. We live in 2026. It is possible with technology. And folks, please, if you got anything out of this, leave a like, leave a comment longer than 8 words, subscribe, share this around. It is vitally important that people know what is happening here in Minnesota. How do people even make money housing people? I think it would cost more money to house them. Well, Crab King, what these private prisons do is they charge exorbitant amounts of money to the federal government in order to house, like, per inmate. And then what they do is, instead of providing full services and, like, like enough food, enough water, enough exercise time, etc., enough light, enough livable conditions. They systematically deny those. Enough medicine. They systematically deny those in order to maximize their profit. So what is necessary is we need to get organized. And you guys need to like, comment, and subscribe. And also, if you really want to piss off a fascist, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Tested on cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. People love it. It fits well. And it is a non-tucking lingerie, so please check it out. New designs, colors, and styles coming in the near future, and sizes. Check it out. Link down in the doobly-doo. And let's keep going, folks. We need to get to work on this. We need to get to work organizing yesterday.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and switching streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, dating, plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.